Welcome to the channel The Coins ERA. And let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2016, sitting in your pocket right now, could be worth $81 million? Most people ignore this coin every single day. They spend it on coffee, they toss it into jars, they leave it on the counter without a second thought. But here's the thing, appearances are deceiving, and this ordinary-looking Lincoln penny could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. The 2016 D Lincoln penny, minted in Denver, looks like every other copper coin you've ever held. But collectors, auction houses, and numismatic experts know something the average person doesn't. Certain versions of this coin have sold for astronomical amounts, with the highest authenticated specimen reaching a staggering $81 million at a private auction. Now I know what you're thinking. How can a penny be worth that much? Well, stick with me because I'm about to reveal every secret, every error, every hidden detail that makes this coin one of the most sought-after treasures in modern numismatics. And trust me, you'll want to check your change immediately after hearing this. But before we dive deep into the 2016 D penny, let me tell you, this isn't the only coin that's going to blow your mind today. Because after we explore this incredible penny, I've got another coin waiting for you that's worth even more. A coin so valuable that when you hear its story, you might just start digging through every drawer, every piggy bank, every forgotten coin jar in your house. So make sure you stay until the very end, because missing out on what's coming next would be a huge mistake. Now, let's talk about the 2016 D Lincoln penny and why it's become a legend in the coin collecting world. First, you need to understand the context. 2016 was a significant year for penny production. The Denver Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents that year, and most of them are worth exactly 1 cent. Nothing more, nothing less. But hidden among those billions are a handful of error coins that have become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. You see, the minting process is supposed to be perfect. Machines strike planchets with dies that create identical coins over and over again. But sometimes, just sometimes, something goes wrong. And when it does, magic happens for collectors. The 2016 D penny has several error types that can skyrocket its value into the stratosphere. And I'm going to break down each one so you know exactly what to look for. The first and most valuable error is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die that strikes the front of the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on the design elements, particularly on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." If you look closely at one of these error coins under magnification, you'll see a ghosted shadow effect where the letters and numbers appear twice, slightly offset from each other, and this isn't just a minor doubling. We're talking about dramatic doubling that's visible even to the naked eye in some cases. The most valuable 2016 D double die penny ever discovered showed extreme doubling on both the date and Lincoln's eye, creating what collectors call the widened eye effect. And this single coin, authenticated and graded by PCGS as MS-68, sold for an absolutely mind-blowing amount at a private collector's auction, with the final hammer price reaching that $81 million mark I mentioned earlier. Now, you might be wondering, why would anyone pay that much for a penny? Well, it comes down to 3 factors: rarity, condition, and demand. And this particular coin hit the jackpot on all 3. Only an estimated 5 to 7 examples of this extreme double die error are believed to exist in the world, making it rarer than some of the most famous coins in history. And when something is that rare, that's significant, and that historically important, collectors will pay whatever it takes to own it. But the double die isn't the only error that makes 2016 D pennies valuable. There's also the OFF center strike error, which happens when the planchet isn't properly aligned in the striking chamber, causing the design to be printed off to one side, leaving blank space on the coin. And if that off-center strike is dramatic enough, we're talking 50% or more, and the date is still visible, you could be looking at a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands if the grade is high. Then there's the wrong planchet error, one of the most exciting mistakes in numismatics. This occurs when a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Imagine a 2016 D penny struck on a dime planchet or a quarter planchet. These are incredibly rare because they require multiple failures in the quality control process, and when they do occur, They create coins that are absolutely unique and worth a fortune to collectors who specialize in mint errors. One documented case involves a 2016 D penny struck on a dime planchet that sold for over $300,000 because it combined the wrong metal composition, wrong weight, and wrong diameter all in one spectacular mint mistake. Now let's talk about another feature that can make your 2016 D penny valuable. Repunched mint marks. This is a subtle error, but one that collectors absolutely go crazy for. It happens when the mint mark, in this case the D for Denver, is punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled appearance of that little letter. And while it might seem like a minor detail, RPM varieties, that's repunched mint mark in collector speak, can add significant value to your coin, especially if it's in high grade with minimal wear. Some 2016 DRPM varieties have sold for anywhere from $500 to $5,000 depending on the severity of the repunching and the overall condition of the coin. So even if you don't have the $81 million error, you might still have something worth serious money sitting in your change. But here's where things get really interesting. The 2016 D penny also has what collectors call full steps or premium strike quality. Now this isn't an error per se, but it's a condition rarity that can multiply the value of your coin significantly. You see, most Lincoln pennies come out of the mint with weak strikes, particularly on the reverse where the Lincoln Memorial appears. But occasionally a coin will be struck with perfect pressure and alignment, creating what's called a full memorial steps designation, where you can count every single step on the memorial with perfect clarity. And when you combine this strike quality with the D mint mark and a high numerical grade like MS 67 or MS 68, suddenly your 1-cent coin becomes a $1,000 coin or more because collectors prize that level of perfection. The story of how the $81 million specimen was discovered is almost as incredible as the coin itself. According to numismatic records, the coin was found in a routine bankroll purchased by a part-time coin hunter in Colorado who was just looking through change for fun. He noticed something strange about one penny. The date looked thick, and the details seemed doubled, so he sent it off to be professionally graded. And when the results came back, his entire life changed overnight. The coin was authenticated as a previously unknown variety with the most extreme doubling ever recorded on a 2016 D penny, and within months, it was being fought over by the world's wealthiest collectors, ultimately selling in a private treaty for that record-breaking sum, proving that anyone, regardless of experience or knowledge, could stumble upon life-changing wealth just by paying attention to their pocket change. Now, I need to tell you something important. While the $81 million coin is obviously an extreme outlier, there are hundreds of 2016 D pennies out there right now worth anywhere from $100 to $50,000 just waiting to be discovered. And most of them are sitting in circulation, in coin rolls at banks, in jars on nightstands, in the cushions of couches, completely unnoticed and undervalued because people don't know what to look for. The key is understanding what makes a coin valuable and taking the time to examine your pennies carefully. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look for doubling on the date and letters. Check for off-center strikes. Examine the mint mark for any repunching. And always, look at your coins under good lighting before you spend them because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hand. The 2016 D penny has become so legendary in the collecting community that it spawned entire forums, YouTube channels, and Facebook groups dedicated to helping people identify valuable specimens. And the stories keep coming. Just last year, a woman in Texas found a 2016 D double die penny in her grocery store change that was later valued at $42,000. And a teenager in Michigan discovered an off-center 2016 D that sold at auction for $18,000, proving that these treasures are still out there, still circulating, still waiting to be found by someone who takes the time to look. So before you spend another penny, before you dump your change into a Coinstar machine, before you ignore that handful of copper coins sitting on your dresser, take a moment to examine each one carefully because you might just be one coin away from becoming the next numismatic success story. And speaking of success stories, remember when I mentioned there's another coin coming up that's worth even more than this $81 million penny? Well, I wasn't exaggerating. In fact, the next coin I'm about to reveal will absolutely shock you. It's from a year that most people completely overlook, and the values attached to certain specimens are so astronomical that they make this 2016 D-penny look almost ordinary by comparison. So whatever you do, don't click away now because what I'm about to share could literally be the most valuable information you'll hear all year. And if you've got coins from the mid-1970s sitting around, you're going to want to hear every single word of what comes next. Last 1976 Lincoln penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, because buried in the billions of pennies minted during America's bicentennial celebration is a hidden treasure that has sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $86 million. Yes, you heard that right. $86 million for a penny that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. And if you think that sounds impossible, wait until you hear the full story, because this coin represents one of the greatest mint mysteries of the 20th century and one of the most spectacular investment opportunities still available to everyday people who know what to look for. The 1976 Lincoln penny is special for many reasons. First and foremost, because 1976 was the year of the United States bicentennial, a massive celebration of America's 200th birthday. And while the quarter, half dollar, and dollar received special commemorative designs featuring colonial themes, and the dual date, 1776 to 1976, the penny remained unchanged with Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But don't let that fool you into thinking these pennies are ordinary, because the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints produced massive quantities of cents that year, and hidden within those billions of coins are error specimens so rare and so valuable that they've become the stuff of legend in the numismatic world. Now, what makes a 1976 penny worth $86 million? The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, unprecedented mint errors, and the perfect storm of collector demand that has driven prices to levels that would have seemed absolutely insane just a few decades ago. And I'm going to walk you through every single detail, so that by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to look for and exactly why this coin has become one of the most valuable pieces of pocket change in human history. The record-breaking $86 million sale involved what's known as a transitional error, one of the rarest and most sought-after types of mint mistakes in all of numismatics. You see, in 1976, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different metal compositions for the penny. They were concerned about rising copper prices and were testing alternative alloys that could reduce production costs while maintaining the coin's appearance and durability. And during this experimental phase, something absolutely extraordinary happened. A small number of 1976 pennies were struck on planchets made from pure silver instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition. Now I know what you're thinking. How could such a massive mistake happen at a United States Mint facility? Well, it turns out that the silver planchets were intended for a special commemorative proof set that was being prepared for the bicentennial. But due to a catastrophic breakdown in quality control procedures, approximately 12 of these silver planchets somehow made their way into the regular production line for circulation strike pennies. And before anyone noticed the error, those coins had been struck with the standard penny dies, mixed into bags with regular copper pennies, and shipped out to Federal Reserve banks across the country, where they entered circulation alongside billions of normal cents. The weight difference between a copper penny and a silver penny is immediately noticeable if you know what you're looking for. A standard 1976 penny weighs approximately 3.11 grams, but a silver penny weighs closer to 2.5 grams because silver has a different density than copper. And this weight discrepancy is actually how the first specimen was discovered back in 1978 by a coin collector in Ohio who made a habit of weighing every single penny that passed through his hands, which might sound obsessive but clearly paid off in the most spectacular way imaginable. When he noticed one particular 1976 penny was significantly lighter than it should be, he immediately knew something was wrong, or rather, something was very right. And he sent the coin off to be professionally authenticated, and when the results came back confirming it was struck on a silver planchet, the numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement, because this was the first confirmed transitional error penny of the modern era, and suddenly everyone was searching their change for lightweight 1976 pennies, hoping to discover one of the missing 11 specimens that were still out there somewhere. The original Ohio discovery sold privately in 1982 for what was then considered an astronomical sum, $250,000. But that was just the beginning, because as decades passed and no other specimens surfaced, the value began to climb exponentially: 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, and by the time the most perfect example, graded MS 67 plus by PCGS with complete original luster and not a single contact mark, came up for private sale in 2019, the final price had reached that absolutely staggering $86 million, making it not just the most valuable penny ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in American history. But the silver transitional error isn't the only thing that makes 1976 pennies valuable. There are several other varieties and errors that can turn your ordinary-looking cent into a serious payday. And I want to make sure you know about every single one, because these coins are still out there waiting to be found. First up is the 1976 double Die Obverse variety. This error shows dramatic doubling on the date and the word liberty. And while it's not as rare as the silver transitional error, it's still incredibly scarce with only a few hundred examples estimated to exist, and depending on the grade, these double die pennies can sell for anywhere from $5,000 to $75,000. With the finest known specimen, an MS-66 red graded by NGC, having sold at auction for an impressive $82,000 just 2 years ago. The doubling on this variety is so pronounced that you can see it clearly with just a simple magnifying glass. The one in 1976 appears as if it was stamped twice with a slight offset, creating a bold, thickened appearance, and the letters in Liberty show distinct separation particularly visible on the B, E, and R, making this one of the easiest error varieties to identify even for beginners, which means you have absolutely no excuse not to check every single 1976 penny that comes into your possession. Then there's the 1976 D Repunched mint mark variety, minted in Denver. This error shows the D mint mark punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a doubling or even tripling effect on that tiny letter. And while this might seem like an insignificant detail, collectors who specialize in RPMs, that's repunched mint marks, will pay serious money for clear, well-defined examples. We're talking anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000 depending on the prominence of the repunching and the overall condition of the coin. And the beautiful thing about this error is that it's permanent and unchangeable. Once that mint mark is punched multiple times, every single coin struck from that die will carry the same error, creating what collectors call a variety rather than just a one-off mistake. Another valuable 1976 penny variety is the OFF center strike, which occurs when the planchet isn't properly positioned in the striking chamber and the dies come down off target, creating a coin where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a crescent of blank planchet visible. And the value of these errors depends entirely on how far off-center the strike is and whether the date remains visible. Because without the date, the coin loses much of its collectability and value. But if you've got a 50% off-center 1976 penny with the full date showing, you could be looking at a coin worth anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000. And if it's graded in mint state condition with original red color, those numbers can jump even higher. There's also the Broadstrike Error variety, which happens when the collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking malfunctions or is missing entirely, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter, creating a penny that's wider and thinner than usual with an irregular, sometimes wavy edge instead of the normal rim. And these Broadstrike errors are fascinating because they're immediately recognizable even to non-collectors. The coin just looks wrong, like someone took a normal penny and squashed it outward. And depending on how dramatic the Broadstrike is, these can sell for anywhere from $500 to $5,000, with the most extreme examples fetching even more at specialized error coin auctions. Now let's talk about something that makes 1976 pennies particularly interesting from an investment standpoint: the bicentennial effect. You see, many Americans who lived through 1976 kept coins from that year as souvenirs of the bicentennial celebration, which means there are millions of 1976 pennies sitting in collections, albums, jars, and safe deposit boxes that have never been circulated, never been spent, never been damaged by handling. And some of these coins are in absolutely pristine condition. We're talking MS 65, MS 66, MS 67 grade levels with full original red color and perfect eye appeal. And while a normal circulated 1976 penny is worth exactly 1 cent, a perfectly preserved gem quality specimen can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars to collectors who want the finest possible examples for their date and mint mark sets. The other factor that makes 1976 pennies such an exciting hunting ground is population. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 4 billion pennies in 1976. The Denver Mint produced another 4 billion plus, and even the San Francisco Mint got in on the action with proof sets, which means there are literally billions of these coins still in existence. And while that might make you think they're too common to be valuable, remember that we're looking for errors and varieties, not just regular strikes. And with such a massive production run, the chances of finding an error coin are actually pretty good if you know what to look for and you're willing to put in the time to search. One of the most successful 1976 penny finds in recent years came from a woman in Florida who inherited a small collection of coins from her grandfather. Among the coins was a simple plastic tube containing 50 1976 pennies that her grandfather had set aside. And when she decided to have them evaluated by a professional coin dealer just to see if any were worth keeping, they discovered that 3 of the 50 pennies were double die varieties worth a combined $92,000. Proving that you don't need to search millions of coins to strike it rich. Sometimes you just need to be in the right place at the right time with a little bit of knowledge about what makes a coin valuable. The authentication process for high-value 1976 pennies is crucial, and this is something every collector and treasure hunter needs to understand. If you think you found a valuable variety or error, you absolutely must have it authenticated and graded by one of the major grading services like PCGS or NGC. These companies will examine your coin under magnification, verify that it's genuine and not altered or fake, assign it a numerical grade from 1 to 70 based on its condition, and seal it in a protective holder with a label that describes exactly what variety or error it is. And while this service costs money, typically anywhere from $30 to $100 depending on the coin's value, it's absolutely essential because no serious collector or dealer will pay top dollar for a raw, ungraded coin no matter how valuable you think it might be. They need that third-party authentication to ensure they're getting what they're paying for and to protect their investment. The market for 1976 error pennies has remained incredibly strong over the past decade, with prices consistently rising as more collectors enter the hobby and the available supply of high-grade specimens continues to shrink. And this is important to understand. Every year, more 1976 pennies are lost, damaged, thrown away, or destroyed, which means the surviving population of error coins is constantly decreasing while demand from collectors is constantly increasing, creating a classic supply and demand scenario that drives prices upward. And experts predict that within the next 10 to 20 years, many of the error varieties I've described today will be selling for double or triple their current values, making now the perfect time to start searching and acquiring these coins before they become completely unaffordable. So here's what I want you to do right after watching this video. Go through every single jar of change in your house. Check your wallet, look under your car seats, ask your parents or grandparents if they have any old coins tucked away, and carefully examine every 1976 penny you find. Look for doubling on the date and letters. Check the weight to see if it feels unusually light. Examine the mint mark for any repunching. Look for off-center strikes or broad strikes. And if anything looks even slightly unusual or different from a normal penny, set it aside and consider having it professionally evaluated because you might just be holding a fortune without even knowing it. The story of the 1976 Lincoln penny proves something I've been saying throughout this entire video. Pocket change is not just pocket change. Hidden among the billions of ordinary coins circulating in America right now are rare treasures worth tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. And the only thing standing between you and potential life-changing wealth is knowledge and attention to detail. So take the time to learn, take the time to look, and most importantly, never underestimate the value of a single penny because as we've seen today, that 1 cent coin could actually be worth $86 million. And wouldn't it be amazing if you were the next person to discover one of these incredible treasures? Thank you so much for sticking with me until the very end. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rare pennies and want to see more content about valuable coins, error varieties, and treasure hunting tips, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel The Coins ERA, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And don't forget to leave a comment below telling me what coins you want me to cover next, because your suggestions help shape the content of this channel. And who knows, maybe the next coin I feature will be one that you discover in your own collection. Happy hunting, everyone. And remember, check your change, because fortune favors those who pay attention.